Hi everybody, today we're going to be looking at writing notes in the treble clef. So I've got my treble clef drawn here, ready to go, and that treble clef tells me what each of these lines and spaces on our stave mean, what notes they are. So we're going to start off. Our first group of notes here are all written on the lines of the stave. You can see going from bottom to top on each of those lines. So we use a phrase to remember what these notes are, and that phrase is every good boy deserves fruit. And we use the first letter of each of those words, so E, G, B, D, and F, to remember the notes on our stave. And of course they do go bottom to top. Everything when we're doing notes goes from the bottom to top. So our bottom line is going to be E because that's our first letter. Our second line is going to be a G, every good. Our third line will be B for boy. Our fourth line will be a D, and our fifth line will be an F. So we've got every good boy deserves fruit. And that's going bottom to top on our lines. Our spaces over here are a bit of a different story. They've got their own phrase as well. And the phrase for our spaces is face in the space. And that helps us remember that face is the word we use and space is where these notes are. So in our first space, in between the first line and the second line, we have an F. In our second space, we have an A. Our third space is a C. And our fourth space is an E. And we see that that spells out face. Now that means that any of these notes that are on that particular line, as long as we see a treble clef, that's what it's going to be. So for example, our first note here is on the third line. I know that the phrase to remember my lines is every good boy deserves fruit. So I'm going to count up every good boy. My third line there is B for boy. My next note here, every good boy deserves, is going to be a D because it's on that fourth line, and I know up here the fourth note is a D. Using this pattern we can continue to name the other notes on our lines. And moving over to this section here in our spaces, a note that goes in my fourth space, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's going to be an E. You can also look my third space, F, A, C, E. Oh, it's going to be a C. And lucky last is F. There are our notes in the treble clef.